Hello everyone, welcome back to Extract the Fact. I'm your host Adam Izraelevitz. So apologies, my last couple of days I was a little sick, but I'm feeling a bit better and I'll get better as the week goes on. But I'm happy to be back and I'm excited to bring you guys today's topic. And today's topic is we're going to be talking about the ongoing trade war between the US and China currently, and specifically on the question of should we place tariffs on China from the United States perspective. So this is a traditional example of a mixture between politics and economics played out in the public. Usually some of these economic issues are played out in secret meetings or in private, but this is a rare example that we have in public. And this has been an issue that is always prevalent in U.S. history. The idea of tariffs, the idea of economic protectionism has been a constant through U.S. politics throughout the years. And in my opinion, this issue is actually undercovered in the mainstream media. I think this is one of the really core issues of the Trump presidency that while people do talk about it, it is still undercovered in my opinion because of other issues facing Trump today. So let's just dive in. So one side today that we'll be arguing for is that yes, the U.S. should embrace the trade war and place heavy tariffs on Chinese goods. And on the other side, we'll say no, the trade war is not the answer and the U.S. should not place tariffs on China. So we're going to jump right in here, and I'll be first presenting the arguments for the yes side, that the U.S. should embrace a trade war with China. So the first part, the really core claim the people who support the trade war and support tariffs on China would say is the U.S. currently has a trade deficit with the Chinese. That is just the bottom line. So I'm just going to read from Kiplinger.com, just kind of a basic summary of what this argument is they say the U.S. does have a large trade deficit with China, over $375 billion as of last year, and in many cases there's a mismatch in tariff policies that can be seen to penalize American workers. For example, the auto tariff in the U.S. is 2.5% on imported vehicles versus China's 25%, an arrangement that was negotiated decades ago before China had a real auto industry. So that is obviously significant. $375 billion as of last year is a huge number, and that is something Trump is actively trying to fix, and he's trying to fix that through trade, the idea of tariffs. Also, a misconception is, it's just a global tariff. It's on everyone, and it's on all goods. But this is actually a very specific tariff. It's targeted mainly on steel industries, not on all goods and not on all countries, so that is another misconception. So it is more specific. It is not some all-out protectionist policy that critics may claim. In addition, there is an ideological component of this. It's saying the U.S. must send a clear message to China that we are an economic and as well as a political force. The U.S. still has the largest economy in the world, but China is in the clear second place in terms of the largest economy in the world, and they are gaining ground on the U.S. So it is important and imperative for the U.S. not to back down to China's demands, instead of strong and meaningful precedent for future conflicts, future economic conflicts within China's sphere of influence. In addition, The Hill, a website named The Hill, argues that because the U.S. has a far superior economy as of 2018, that China has more to lose in the trade war. So there's more to lose for China than the U.S., so the U.S. is at a clear advantage, so we should exploit that advantage and kind of rebalance this huge trade deficit that we have, which is, again, the core of that argument. So now I'm going to be shifting gears a little bit. We'll talk about, no, the trade war is not what we need, and tariffs are not the answer to this situation. So if we just look historically for a second, we see that tariffs, for the most part, again, there are exceptions. A lot of times with the economy, there are very specific examples that might work or might not, but historically, generally, tariffs for the most part have not been favorable towards the U.S., both in the short and long terms. A primary example I found is the Hawley-Smoot tariff. This was in 1930. It was a massive U.S. tariff on over 20,000 imported goods in 1930, and it exponentially increased the damage of the Great Depression. So again, 1930, just after the stock market crash and right before the Great Depression hit. And again, the Hawley-Smoot tariff, because it's a tariff, it did hit the farmers the hardest, and they were the first actually affected by the Great Depression, and then it spread to a lot of different other sectors and a lot of jobs, and obviously we know what happened from there. So many experts point to this Hawley-Smoot tariff as one of the primary instigators of the Great Depression. Another idea is that no one wins in a trade war. This is a popular argument about people who don't support this tariff idea. The Guardian says that the International Monetary Fund warned Trump that a trade war could cost the global economy $430 billion. So obviously global ramifications is not just between the US and China, but because it's the two economic superpowers in the world today, there are huge economic ramifications across the world. In addition, the U.S. could find itself in, quote, a focus of global retaliation in tariff disputes, says the WEO report. So again, a large-scale global impact. It's not just two countries negotiating. Another facet of this is, like I said, most economic disputes are usually private, but this one is public, and that could play against the U.S. in this scenario. So the traditional view is to handle disputes in private, and that is how the Chinese historically have done it, but there is an SCMP quote from Donald Trump that says, when a country, the USA, is losing many billions of dollars on trade, with virtually every country does business with, trade wars are good and easy to win. So this is obviously a very bold claim by Trump, that what he's saying, and this potential of the trade war being so public is it could escalate, and we don't want that between two economic superpowers, so there is a risk for that there. And finally, many critics of Trump, this is mainly a Democratic argument, that they believe that this tariff idea is very political. And as we know, there are the key midterm elections going up in 2018. A lot of Republicans in the Senate and the House are threatening to lose their seats, and Trump will lose his Republican majority. So Trump might be looking to protect his base here a little bit, and again looking towards 2020. So the Guardian writes that their argument on the Guardian is that Trump might be solely playing to his base to serve the interests of these tariffs. They argue that he might not be doing what's best for the entire country, but rather what's best for his supporters. Now, again, a counter to this would be that the farmers are, one of the core pieces of Trump's base in Middle America, and because tariffs hurt farmers, it's actually not a political move by Trump, but rather he sees this as the better way forward for America. So I think we covered the basics here. Like I said, I think this is an undercovered issue. This is something I think the media should be talking about more, just because we like to focus sometimes a lot about the rhetoric of our president, but sometimes this is a really core principle of action that is real life ramifications for everyone in the U.S. And I think always the economy is a great dividing line, and it's interesting to see both sides to this issue. So let me know what you guys think in the comments, and thanks.